Well, hello, amazing global Tramily. Greetings from beautiful Orlando in this incredible February 2023 day when I am recording this. And so why am I recording this? I felt really compelled to hop on primarily because this past Sunday, just a couple of days ago, we celebrated Schuyler, my daughter's 7th life day. And what does that mean? Well, if you've been following our story, you know that 7 years ago on Sunday the 19th, this random boulder fell off the side of a mountain in Colombia, South America, and virtually left her for dead. Seriously, medical precedent really said that the realistic expectations that she wasn't going to make it. It had cracked open her skull, crushed her lungs, fractured her spine, snapped her right thigh, pulverized her left ankle. And it took literally an hour to get her to some kind of medical care there in South America. But again, if you've been following our story, you know that this isn't a story about tragedy. This is a story about the triumph of the human spirit, and really how sometimes when we make that commitment, really to invest in our inner game, that we tap into a kind of magic where things that with precedent might seem impossible can become your I'm possible. And we've lived this over and over and over again because clearly Schuyler survived. Doesn't mean that there haven't been some incredible, epic challenges over the last 7 years. And yet with those challenges have come some amazing blessings. And so one thing that I try to do every year around this time is reflect on what have some of those big teachings become. And I say teachings deliberately because ironically enough, I guess intentional pun here, talk about the school of hard knocks. That boulder really has become like the ultimate life guru. And I say over and over again that it's not in spite of these boulders that drop into our lives that we succeed. It turns out that often it's these very boulders that help us discover how high we can soar, and that our skies, there's no such thing as limits unless we put them there. So I think the big takeaway, and there were many this year, and I'll be sharing more and more of them, but I think the big takeaway that I really wanted to share today is just how much power each of us has, and that we can go through our entire lives without even realizing it. And that power is rooted in our inner game. And inner game, what is inner game? How do I use that? It sounds kind of so technical and functional, and yet it ties, that's the distance. If you've ever felt a gap between what you feel like you know intellectually and what you experience in your soul and your heart, what you know to be true at the core essence of who you are, if you've ever felt there's a gap, the inner game is what can connect that. And so I believe that sometimes I hear it implied that the inner game really is coping skills and trying to learn how to think more positively and look on the bright side and respectfully. Yes, but those are itsy bitsy teeny weeny. That's the reaction part, in my humble opinion and in my experience. If you are waiting to try to look on the bright side when all these things happen, and you resign yourself that you're basically some ship that's tossed around in the fickle waves of time, then of course, the reaction to that is to feel very disempowered, right? Feel very exposed and very vulnerable. And of course, that's not a feeling that we enjoy feeling. So it can make us kind of contract, and we get fixated on what can we control out there, when most of it out there is really uncontrollable. And then we get so distracted that we become oblivious to controlling the things that we really can control. And that is where what I refer to as the inner game. It's things like learning how to regulate our focus, right? Because ultimately that's our focus. We cannot delegate that. We cannot automate that, and we certainly can't eliminate it. We're going to be focusing on something. And when we don't focus deliberately, that's when it throws us into, there's no other option other than just react. And if we're on autopilot reacting, it doesn't take long for us to seem to go down to this rabbit hole where it just feels like we're stuck and the world is overwhelming to us. So what I have discovered is that instead, the other option, which is usually overlooked, is to learn how to become the sovereign of your mind, of your inner game. And the first thing that I hear usually when I'm sharing this, either with clients or friends, loved ones, is that, oh my God, but it's so hard. I would beg to differ. When we decide that something is so critical and that is our highest priority, we make a change instantly. Take a look at the pandemic, right? Just weeks before it was as if the entire world was shut down. Just weeks before, if you would have said to your average person on the street, yeah, I think you can probably take everyone around the world and convince them to walk around with masks and isolating themselves, even at the expense of their mental health, their business, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think some people, maybe even a lot of people, would have said, oh my God, that'd be so hard, right? And yet, boom, we did it immediately. Why? Because it became our top priority. We believe that it was essential to our survival. Well, I am here to share that in my humble experience, the one contributing factor that Schuyler and I show up so consistently, primarily in joy, primarily feeling inspired, energized, and ready to see what this next day is going to bring, in spite of the physical challenges that we have and all these other quote unquote unusual obstacles that we face. It is entirely because we have prioritized learning to become the sovereigns of our own mind, giving ourselves the authority to sort of password protect, virus protect our mind, and not feel like we are obligated to feel the impact of everything that goes on out there, every word that is uttered toward us. Instead, we almost put it through a filtering process, and we are very specific. Are we going to react or are we going to respond? And responding, as you can learn to regulate your focus, your language, and your imagination / your fear, that begins moving the boat in a way that I just feel is critical. That is the missing piece. That has been the missing piece that differentiated me between the person that I was before the boulder, when I questioned my self-worth. All I could do was think of all the many ways that I'd fallen short, even that I'd failed in some of the areas. And just, I was so focused on flaw, there was no room for flow, right? And the differentiating factor was when I discovered that, oh my gosh, it's not all these things out there. And even when a freaking boulder falls and completely demolishes our world as we knew it, so almost literally physically and financially, we still have the potential to unleash something epic, to experience something epic. So I am I am here sharing this today. Take from it what you will. If something inspires you, fantastic. I hope it will, because the message here is, it is so critical to invest in you, in your inner game, in learning how to direct and deliberately participate in, be proactive, guide your inner narrative, and to really filter, does this energize me? Does this way that I'm phrasing things, does it empower me to go out there and achieve that impact and that influence to live the life that I have in this moment, and all the eternal string of moments to follow, right? How am I showing up, and am I committing to figuring out how to unleash the most epic version of myself, even if I'm not even sure that that's there? Because I promise you, when this boulder first fell, the last thing I felt was epic or capable. One of my first thoughts was, oh my God, I'm the wrong person to be this amazing child's mom. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not going to be able to measure up. I'm not going to be able to do this. And it wasn't the outer things that made the difference. It was the fact that I had, fortunately, had so many things that were tough in my life that drove me towards studying the inner game and learning more and seeing how did other people face these formidable challenges and go on to do these incredible things. It was always, always, always the inner game. So if you were watching this and you were feeling stuck and you were feeling like all the odds are stacked against you, I would humbly invite you to look beyond that place where your beliefs are stopping you and go into your inner game and look at the value that you are placing. Are you prioritizing, not coping, but learning to proactively, what does it mean to create? Yes, when we say, I'm facing this big challenge, that does feel like truth. However, what we're assuming there that is not true is that that's the only variation of truth. Explore how it feels to say, well, my biggest focus right now is getting my power. My biggest focus now is figuring out, how can I live the life that I've always dreamed of? My biggest commitment is discovering, is there an epic version of me? And I'm telling you that there is absolutely, and that the best is yet to come. I can speak for me, and I think I can speak for Schuyler as well, that for the past 7 years, we thought that we were ready for these massive epic breakthroughs. And what I have come to discover as I reflect back, we were just getting ready to be ready. And even if you look at the word creation and reaction, if you just flip a few letters, they're one and the same. And to me, that really feels like, am I going to move forward in my life in reaction mode or in creation mode? Well, I encourage you to pick creation mode every single time and start building that momentum. Just target 1%, just 1% improvement, 1%, and 1% of really getting familiar with what your mind truly is capable of. So go out there and commit to doing something epic. Reach out to me, stay connected, hit the subscribe button, because this is going to be a powerful year. We are going to be sharing some of the insights and some of the observations and kind of doing a little bit of a play-by-play with you and with our three girls, so that maybe you can extract from it a few gems that might help you in your own journey. So I'm Meridith. Mwah. Love as always, global family. And I will talk to you soon. All right. Bye.